What is going on, everybody? Every time I see one of these types of articles, I just shake my head in disbelief. Because this is just depressing to see that this is pretty much the state of most of gaming journalism nowadays. And I can't help but wonder if 10, 15, 20 years ago, that an article like this would have never even made it past the editor's desk. Because pretty much what is written in this article, and the actual article title itself, is just so asinine that it's almost shocking to me that someone who claims that they're a gamer would even think and say some of this stuff. I will have the article in the description, and I highly recommend you go check it out yourself. But let's get into this. Okay, the article title here is Why Dark Souls 3 Should Have an Easy Mode and the Problem with Playing to Win. Now, we got two separate subjects here. So let's start out with why Dark Souls 3 should have an easy mode. So, should Dark Souls 3 have an easy mode? That is an easy answer. No, no, and no. Why is that? Because the entire point of the Souls games is to test your skill and to test your patience. That is the entire point of those games. If you take away the challenge of the Souls games, you are literally ripping out the soul of those games. Pun intended. Actually, the funny thing here is that the Souls games, in retrospect, aren't even the most challenging games out there. Sure, they may seem daunting at first, but once you start to understand the game, you understand the gameplay mechanics, you understand what items to use, where you need to go, how the bosses work. Pretty much once you understand the game doesn't become as hard. There are a lot harder games out there than the Souls games. But be that as it may, no, the entire point of those games is to challenge you. And if you don't like to be challenged in any way, those games aren't for you. Now, you want to know what a normal person would do? If they find something that's too challenging for them, they can move on to the next game. There are a lot of different games out there. There's a lot of variety out in the gaming world. So just move on to the next one instead of trying to change the game to fit your little narrative of what a game should be and how a game should act. See, this is what a normal person would do. They would just move on to the next game. But you have these type of people that write articles like this, that instead of moving on to the next game, something that would be more of their preference, they are going to try to change the game to fit their narrative. And that stuff really pisses me off. So, yeah, let's move on to the next part of this article here. And the main reason why I'm making this video. The problem with playing to win. I had no clue there was even a problem with playing to win. You want to know why? Because the entire point of video games is to play to win. That is the entire point of video games, is to win, to beat it. Whether you're playing a multiplayer game or a single player game, the end goal is the same. It is to play the best that you can and to eventually win. I honestly can't believe that I'm even discussing this. Like, why is this even being addressed? There is not one single video game that is out there right now that the goal of the game is not to beat it. Whether it's, say, Super Mario Brothers. What is the end goal of Super Mario Brothers? To beat the game, to get to the end, to save Princess Peach. What is the end goal of the Zelda games? It is to beat the game, save Princess Zelda, and slay Ganon. That is the point. Let's take a multiplayer game, Call of Duty. What is the goal of that game? It is to play your best and to try to win online. I can go on and on and on for every single game. I can. Hey, you know what? What the hell? Let's continue. Let's take some of the easiest games that are out there right now. Let's say the Telltale games. They're pretty popular right now, and they're not hard at all. There's actually very little gameplay in those games, other than moving from point A to point B to further the story. Not that hard. Guess what? The end goal of those games is to beat it, to get to the end of the episodes, to find out what happens next, to conclude the story, to beat it. And even these time-wasting mobile games like Candy Crush, Angry Birds, and all these little games like that, you still play those games and the goal is the same, to beat them, to get the high score. Oh my god, I'm starting to have a headache. And some of you could probably tell. Why am I even discussing this? Why? I'm just going to end it here. And all I'm going to end it with is that, to the person who wrote this article and to whoever else may be listening to this that shares these beliefs. If video games are too hard for you and you don't want to put the time to get better at these games, then you know what? Maybe video games aren't for you. Maybe you need to go find a new hobby. So, there you go. Please let me know what you think of the video, and until next time, have a good one.